Hi, this is Betty Holder. Welcome to my 6-day weather report. Luckily, it warmed up just a little bit out here by the Chena Lakes area so that we were able to not freeze. My husband was nice enough to mount my thermostat inside with the probes outside the door for more convenience for me. Sometimes he can be so good to me. This was a photo that I found as I was trying to get all my weather data together. A friend of mine, Naoki, who is from Japan, was here on a student visa, and he took these beautiful like aurora light photographs during one of the coldest years I think we had had up till then. This was back in about 2005, I believe it was. I went online and looked at last week's weather forecasts before I started anything too in depth, and this was what it had looked like when I was checking it out on via the internet. This was one of the Doppler radar photos of the area showing a topographical view. Now to get down to the nitty gritty. My 6-day weather forecast, this was my data. I started on January 30th, and I did vary my times for this based on my schedule. I wasn't always able to be home at the same exact time, or if I was home, I was trying to sleep so that I could be ready for the next day. Setting this up, like I said, my husband mounted my thermostat reading portion indoors with the little detectors outside, so it was a little bit easier. Wish we'd done that during the colder snap. The temperatures varied. The barometric pressure typically varied. As you can see, the cooler it was, the higher the barometric pressure, which I thought, to me, the barometric pressure would drop when it was colder, but apparently not. So it's one of those credit debit things that in my head doesn't work either. The temperatures this time weren't nearly as cold as they were in previous weeks, which, like I said, I'm very, very thankful for because I do spend a lot of time in and out of buildings, and I like it when it's warm. The plotting graph was a bit erratic. I'm not sure, again, if that was my taking the temperatures or the actual data from the temperature taking that we did that as being sporadic as the temperatures were this last week. I'm still waiting on that warm front to come through, but you can see where the consistencies lie. You know, where it was definitely colder. I do know that the spiked temperatures in the higher portion. I do believe that was because I had to bring the thermometer in to read it one time before we got it mounted on the door. So yeah, that would explain the higher temperatures. They probably should be down in the lower, below the 10 below 0 reading area. But because we had to bring it in to warm it up so we could read it, and since it doesn't read at negative 40 below, but then I don't think I read very well at negative 40 below either. And this shows the drop and the stabilizing of the barometric pressure as the temperatures were warmer, the barometric pressure was lower, whereas when it was cooler, the barometric pressure was higher. So it's like an offset. One's low, one's high. And that, to me, was, like I said, a bit odd. The 6-day weather forecast was a bit, I would say, difficult for me in that with my schedule with school and work, it was not easy being home at the same time. But then again, I also thought that taking the temperatures at varied times throughout the day with different conditions would definitely be a bit more, I guess, accurate. Because we're not, this is Fairbanks, North Pole, Alaska. Nothing's ever the status quo here. One day you get up and it looks really nice out and it's really, perfect temps, and then you get to where you're going, and 45 minutes later it's bottomed out and it's freezing cold, and snowflakes the size of quarters are coming down, and they're coming down so fast you can barely see your hand in front of your face. So the weather changes, and the weatherman is the only person that can be wrong more often than not and still keep his job. So this was definitely an experience. I am a very time conscious person in that I try to schedule myself consistently, but with the weather, you can't always do that. Things tend to go by the wayside. But I think I'm having fun with this class, learning a little bit. Hopefully, and we'll learn even more things that I can pass on to my kids at school, even if I can't take my little thermometer there at school and work with them. But I do share my school experiences and the weather stuff, and we're actually working on some of this in some of the science classes there, so the kids are giving me insight. And I think I passed this most recent quiz only because we were looking at some of that stuff at school, not because I read it all here, but because we were going over some of it at school. So we all learn together. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next weekend. Thanks. Bye.